Hey there, everyone. Welcome on into VG Emporium, video game music and more. I'm your host, Rage Cage, and with me I have another guest. I have non-stop guests, so like almost every other episode. So, and he's brought in something I haven't really thought to talk about before, but I'm actually kind of glad he brought it up. So I'm going to let him introduce himself and tell you what we're talking about today.
Yeah, thanks, dude. This is Mike Levy from XVGM Radio, another video game music podcast. I know there's a sea and plethora of video game music podcasts, but yeah, I co-host it with my buddy Justin Schneider, and we have monthly episodes once a month. And we talk about a lot of different stuff. We have a lot of really cool themes, and it's more radio styled. So that's my show. Thanks for having me, by the way.
Oh yeah. No, I don't know how it came out. I think I was asking for feedback on some things, and I said eventually I want to have you on your show, and you just immediately hit me back with saying, "Let's do it."
Yeah, I was like, "Let's make it happen."
Yeah, no, and I was totally down for it, and then yeah, you kind of like I think we kind of brainstormed just really quick, and then you brought up this topic of like N64, but not only just N64 music, but like kind of the deep cuts or like underappreciated music of the N64.
Yeah, the N64 gets a really bad rap. Like I was a teenager during that time. I was in middle school when the N64 came out, and my parents were like, you could get an N64 or you could get a PC. And I actually went with PC because I really wanted to learn how to use a computer. So I was in 7th grade or 8th grade. I think it was 8th grade. And it came out when I was in 8th grade. And got a computer, started playing Doom and all that cool stuff. And I knew as soon as like games started flowing, I was getting Nintendo Power every month still. And I was like, man, I really want the N64. So it wasn't, I didn't get it until Zelda came out. When Ocarina of Time came out, which was like 98, 99, I think. So I think it was 98, and so I got it as a Hanukkah gift from my mom, and I loved the system. And I got a PS1 after that, and I got a Dreamcast after that. So I had all the systems. I didn't have the Saturn, but I had all the other systems, and I was a Nintendo fanboy growing up. And I would say that was the generation where I really started spreading my wings to try other stuff. And that's how I got the PS1 and the Dreamcast and everything. But like, man, I defended the bejesus out of the N64. I loved the N64. It had so many fun games, fun experiences, and the multiplayer was there. It was like one of the first systems that I was like really gung-ho about like playing with other people. So I'd invite friends over, or I'd like go over friends' houses that also had it, and I'd play all sorts of multiplayer stuff.
Yeah, no, for me, my N64 experience was definitely not as full as yours. Like, I think I was telling you earlier, most of the time I played it was like, somebody let me borrow it, or I played it someplace else. Like, the first time I played it was like at like a video rental store, and, they had it set up with Mario 64, so that was my first experience with it, and most of what I played were kind of like, the standards, so Mario 64, Waverace 64. I did get to play the Ocarina of Time a bit. Conker's Bad Fur Day, of course.
Yes.
Somebody had that, but yeah, it's just I'd never had a chance to really explore it. So like, actually get into the more kind of like below the like just that top layer of Nintendo that was released on the console. So I'm kind of really glad that you brought this up and that we're going to be able to dive into this because this is a realm of music I'm not really all that familiar with. I'm more like, FM and really, like the Japanese PC stuff and
yeah. I love all that stuff.
I know.
But growing up, I was very heavily into the NES, the Super NES, and of course the N64 and everything after that, and before that too. I pretty much ran the gamut. But growing up as a Nintendo kid, I got to really explore the N64's library while it was coming out. Jumping in like, pretty early on. I mean, it was only out for like, 5 years or something like that.
Yeah.
But since I got in within a year or so of it coming out, I was able to experience most of the games. I mean, the first time I played it was at a Nintendo, or at a Toys R Us kiosk.
Okay.
So I played Mario 64 and was just like, my jaw just dropped. Just running around in circles and just like, as Mario and doing like the I was really into doing the jump where you hold the Z button
Yeah,
down,
you crouch
jump
and then
forward, woohoo!
Yeah, I got you on that.
Incredible. So that was really where I fell in love with the N64, and I mean definitely there were a lot less games than the PlayStation and even the Saturn, but at the same time the games that were on it were great. I mean, there were some stinkers, don't get me wrong. And if you're comparing games that came out in the PS1 versus games that came out in the N64, in a lot of ways they were better on the PlayStation. Don't get me wrong, but the N64 had a charm to it that just I really appreciated. So all of the games that I selected tracks from on this episode are it's a mix of stuff. Like this track in particular, this game, I played, but I didn't really remember the music. So when I was picking tracks for this episode, I found this and was like, oh my god, I haven't played Waverace 64 in forever. And I didn't realize how good the soundtrack was. It's incredible.
Yeah, no, the soundtrack for this is really, really good. I mean, there's actually one like a cover of it done like with the Sega Genesis Mega Drive sound chip that somebody had done. I can't remember the name of the song, cool. But that one, like, when I think of Waverace, for some reason my mind just goes to that one because like the way how it sounds on that is insane. Like, so if it sounds that good on there, the source of it is really good. But
yeah, I could totally picture this on an FM chip. Like a YM 2151 or something like that, or the 2612 or something,
Yeah, no, and I'll have to link you that really, like when I can remember where I can find it. But
yeah,
sure. No, it was really good. But yeah. So this here track was, what is this? What is this one? Hold on, let me look at my notes. This is Sunset Bay from Waverace 64, composed by Kazumi Totaka.
Yep, of Totaka's song.
Totaka song?
Yeah, have you heard about that?
Wait a minute.
Oh, no? Okay.
Wait.
So, Kazumi Totaka, he has this 19-note melody that plays in almost all of the games that he's worked on. It's like a little song that he's come up with.
All right, this is kind of this is definitely opening something up in my brain that's saying, you do remember this.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, he's hidden it in almost every single game that he's worked on, so it's pretty neat. I mean, he's done a ton of really great game soundtracks over the years. One of Nintendo's best composers. One of my favorites that he's done was Super Mario Land 2 6 Golden Coins.
Now that is a good soundtrack right there, and yeah, he is a name that I'm familiar with that have heard a lot of his music, and I could say between him and Hip Tanaka as far as being my favorite Nintendo guys. Okay. Like the ones that I could immediately come to mind.
Yeah.
So, I know Koji Kondo is the big name, and he's done all the really big things, but as far as kind of just kind of like the style and the style of songs that these two create is just those are my top two right there.
Yeah, really memorable melodies and hooks. I mean, this has Capcom written all over it. I mean, it with this MIDI guitar, it's so good.
Oh yeah.
Really, just what's the word? It's just uplifting. It's one of those uplifting, I feel like I'm flying kind of melodies. Waverace 64 though, I really didn't play that much of. I mean, I maybe played it when it came out, on a kiosk or something like that, but I didn't own it. I think I maybe rented it once and was I'm terrible at this. I'm not good at the game, but I love the music, so it's worth it's one of those games that I would own just to have it because the music is that good,
No, I what I did play of it, I really enjoyed. Again, it was kind of a weird one to figure out the whole kind of momentum, physics and momentum of it, but it was, with the music, playing in the background, it really was just kind of a really cool experience. I don't know how to explain it, but one that I imagine neither of us have any experience with at all, I know I sure don't, is the next track I got here for you. And this is coming from a game called Center Court Tennis. And this track is called City Court, and it's composed by Hayato Matsuo. And that you just heard, that was super smooth, was City Court from Center Court Tennis, composed by Hayato Matsuo. And this is something I would not be surprised to hear on KVGM.
Good old hammock.
Not one bit. Yeah. No, this is a hammock jam for sure. This entire game is full of jams that Hammock would just probably just go ham on.
He wouldn't go muck on it. He would go ham on it. Ham.
Oh, God.
Zing. No, this was cool. This was super chill. And the instrumentation on this, I really liked it. It was a little different than what we're used to hearing on the N64. I think the biggest problem that the N64 has is the fact that all of the music is chip-based. It's not like Red Book audio. So it's especially in an age where like the PlayStation and the Saturn were using more Red Book audio in their game soundtracks. This, because the N64 used cartridges, it didn't have that opportunity to take advantage of. There were definitely like samples and stuff like that, and PCM samples and whatnot. But man, they really had to work some magic into the N64 to make stuff sound good. And this is just a great example of something that sounds really good on the N64.
Yeah, no, this is definitely not like anything I've heard, like in my experiences with the N64, as far as just kind of, the way how like the sample sound and the arrangements and everything. And I was always, this is definitely considered like a chip tune, even though it's all sampled and doesn't really sound it. But I kind of looked up really quick about how the N64 sound actually works. And it's not exactly a chip that plays the sound. It's more of how to explain it? It's like this thing called the reality coprocessor, which is a processor made by NEC, which made the NEC PC series of computers. And it processed the program data, of all the songs and everything. And all the samples are loaded up in the cartridge itself, so how the SNES works and all. But instead of being run through channels,
right,
it's just all mashed into this processor and just kind of spat out. I don't know. It's really weird because looking at the USFs, it doesn't really have separated channels. It's just one massive waveform that plays in whatever players I found.
Oh, interesting. So it's more processor based.
Yeah.
Than chip based. Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
Yeah, it's interesting. It said it could theoretically mix 100 channels of PCM audio, but this would require the entire system's resources.
Right.
So it is working in channels. It's just not outputting in channels. It's all outputting in one solid output.
Almost as if it's sharing the memory with the game. Because I remember talking to Grant Kirkhope about it. We interviewed him for we did an episode where we pretty much talked to him for 2.5 hours about Perfect Dark.
And that was a good episode.
Yeah, that was a good lot episode. Of fun to talk to him about it. And I learned a lot about the N64 and how tough the limitations were back then on even something that was as advanced as, going from Super NES to N64, you still had limitations.
Yeah.
So it's really pretty nuts how much these developers had to do in order to get stuff to sound even half as good as what they wanted it to sound like,
Oh yeah. And it's just this little transition right here. I like how the song kind of it's all just smooth, kind of chipper, and then at, towards the end it just gets that kind of dark tilt to it, and then it just goes back to being, you're just walking through the city. Yeah,
so this game, Center Court Tennis, never came out anywhere outside of Europe and Japan, I guess. I guess this was developed by Hudson Soft.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. And I imagine it's just a normal tennis game. I don't think we got much tennis here in the States, did we?
No, not really. There really weren't. outside of wrestling and football and baseball, there wasn't a ton of sports games on the N64. There really wasn't that much going for it. There was, there were fighters, there were action games, there were platformers, 3D platformers, first-person shooters, and then wacky weird games too, stuff that Silicon Valley game and stuff like that. Cubivore and what? Oh no, Cubivore was GameCube. But like
Buck Bumble.
Yeah. Oh, Buck Bumble. Yeah. There you go. Bump to the Bumble. Yeah. So there was just weird stuff like that on the N64.
Yeah.
It was just like I miss when AAA developers just tried everything. They were, especially Sega. Like, man, I miss Sega trying so much random stuff with their games and not playing it safe, like really taking risks,
Oh yeah.
Because that's where some of their like real magic stuff came out.
Hell yeah. I mean, like, just like when they had the Dreamcast out and like just all the weird shit they put out on that.
Yeah,
I mean, like things like Space Channel 5, Rez, like even Sonic Shuffle as horrible as a ripoff on Mario Party that still was like a weird, interesting game.
It's weird because we can get into this, and spend 3 hours talking about Sega versus Nintendo, but like, growing up as a Nintendo kid and seeing Sega, I looked at things from a very jaded mindset where, Sega would be like, oh, we're so hip, we're so cool, it was all part of the console wars. It's just total garbage, that we all got hook, line, and sinkered into, instead of, and that's when the N64 came out. I was like defending it, like no, you can't talk bad about the N64, and there were people out there that were like, nah, I'm gonna talk trash about the N64 because it doesn't have full motion video, it doesn't have CD quality audio, it doesn't have this, it doesn't have that,
Though somehow Capcom, the madmen, those mad people were somehow able to do that with Resident Evil 2 on the N64, though.
Right. I mean,
so there's a little point there.
Yeah. I mean, I think that was actually developed or it was ported by Angel Studios, if I recall, and they killed it. I mean, the work that they did on that port, it is unbelievable how they got that game to come out. And even like, Mega Man Legends came out, that was impressive.
Mega Man 64 on
there
that.
There were definitely developers that were pushing the boundaries on the N64 outside of just first party and like, second party companies like Rare. So
yeah, usually it is like Nintendo or Rare that was like really pushing it, but like when you see like third party people coming in,
right,
and they figured out their own workarounds to actually like push it over just push it over what it's able to do without actually ruining whatever they're making, is like, it's just that was really cool to see, like with anything, like, PlayStation and 64, Super Nintendo, Genesis, even like Game Boy Advance and all that things. Just
I mean, they really tried their best to work around the limitations of the system, and Nintendo weren't the only company that had a difficult to work with system. I mean, Saturn was a mess, in terms of development. Especially like 3D. Like, yes, the Saturn can do 3D, but it also had limitations, transparency issues, all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
So, you play a game like Dead or Alive on Saturn, and it looks cool, but then you play it on PlayStation, and you're like, whoa, this is like a totally, they're different experiences on each system that you play it on. And aside, like nowadays, aside from, the Switch getting like ports that are like lower quality, and they have to like make certain sacrifices on the Switch, you don't really see that. Like anything that comes out on the Xbox One or the Xbox X or whatever, Series X. I've been calling it the Sex Box.
Oh, jeez.
Just because it's easier, like Xbox, Series X, Sex Box. So so we got the Sex Box and the PS5, and we still got the Switch, and like, I'm impressed that the Switch can handle the stuff that's coming out nowadays. But at the same time, like, it's not like back in the day where like one game would come out on all three systems, let's say, and on all three systems it was totally different. Like audio, visuals, gameplay even. And I think we kind of brought that back a little bit with the Wii. Where like developers would be like, all right, we're gonna make the big boy version, but then we're gonna make this weird wacky version for the Wii.
And that's another system I have even less experience with than the N64.
Oh, the Wii?
Yeah.
I love the Wii. It was a great system. I mean, again, I've bought every Nintendo system. I even had a Virtual Boy at one point.
Oh,
which was, let's not get into that. Those are the dark days.
Well, let's get into our next track then, if you don't want to get into the Virtual Boy ownery. If Onery? I don't know how to.
Owner-ring?
Owner-ring?
Owner-ring. Yeah.
Owner-ring.
Let's go with
I don't
that.
know. Okay.
Yeah. All right. I'm gonna pick Mischief Makers as my next game, and Volcanic is the name of the track, and it is composed by the treasure legend himself, Norio Hanzawa. All right, that was Volcanic from Mischief Makers, and that was by Norio Hanzawa.
Like, no matter what system it is, what game it is, like, there's just the sound, like, you see Treasure on there, and you start hearing the music, and it's Norio Hanzawa because it's just so weird, and...
I mean, it complements the game. The game is pretty weird, but musically, I really dig the drill, the dentist drill.
Oh, yeah, that...
in there.
Yeah.
It's got very, like... what's the word? It's got very like robotic drums, like it sounds more like robot percussion,
Yeah, like that kind of like that really heavy, like kind of like not timpani, but like that. Just I know what you're talking about. It sounds like steam, kind of just being like let out really loud.
Yeah, like steampunk drums. Yeah. It fits. It fits with the game. I mean, you're playing as this girl named Marina, and she has kind of like her version of Dr. Light, which is this guy named Professor Theo. And the professor ends up getting kidnapped by this guy, King Aster. So he's got all these like robot troops.
More like King Ass Hat.
Yeah, right. And so your whole point of the game is you're playing as Marina trying to save the professor and defeat King Aster. But it's a 2D side-scrolling game, and what you got to do is like grab enemies and then you shake them, and you could also do the same for like platforms and objects and stuff that you find.
Okay.
So you grab stuff and then you press the right button and she goes shake, shake, shake. And it's
she actually says
cute.
shake.
Yeah, she goes shake.
Oh no!
Shake.
Is it okay? Is it one of those things that kind of gets annoying after a while, or is it like
No. It's pretty charming the whole way through. I mean, I haven't played through the game. I've played it here and there. I have a friend of mine who's like huge fan of this game. It's like one of his favorite games on the N64. But yeah, it's got about 5 worlds, and each one has about 10 levels.
Wow.
So it's a pretty in-depth
so that's like
game.
50 stages right there, basically.
Yeah.
Jeezy.
Yeah, and a lot of them go by pretty quick. Like this one in particular takes place in like a volcanic level. Hence the name Volcanic. So I think, if I recall correctly, this stage takes place pretty quick, but I can't remember. But yeah, this track really stands out to me as like being really different and unique to the N64.
Yeah, I do remember seeing like at rental stores and things like the cover of it, but I didn't have a 64 of my own to play it, and then whenever I did get to borrow it, nobody had it or anywhere and stuff. So I've always ever seen it passing. I might have emulated it way back when I was really getting into that, back in 2005 or something, but I can't remember.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So when N64 emulation was first starting.
Yeah, with Project 64 and all that stuff. So when it was still pretty rough, but
oof.
Yeah. Trying to play Mario 64 with that emulator on a school computer, I would not recommend.
Yep. Forget it.
No.
Can't do it. I mean, I can't play N64 on anything other than an N64.
Seriously?
It's so, I can't.
Okay.
A perfect example, they make those Brawler 64 controllers now, those third-party controllers. They're good quality, they're well built. But man, I bought one just to try it on fighters. I was like, oh, maybe I'll play Smash Brothers with this, or maybe I'll play Sin and Punishment or Mario 64, and my hands are like, nope.
Oh jeez.
I am so all about the N64 controller in terms of the way it was designed, and just I got it immediately. The way that they designed it. I understood how you grab the middle with your left hand, use the analog stick, with your left thumb.
Yeah.
You press the Z button in the back with your index finger on your left hand, and right hand was for the buttons. And then if you needed L or R, they were up at the top. Boom, boom.
And then
done.
for the C buttons, you just kind of go over really quick and bam.
Yeah. No. I mean, I will say the N64 was my system of choice in terms of multiplayer games, or I'm sorry, multi-platform games. So I'm looking over at my collection of N64 games,
no.
and I've got tons of third-party games on there, because if I was I'm gonna get WWF Attitude, which is one of my favorite games on the N64, I'm gonna get it on N64 because even though it doesn't have all the cutscenes and stuff, it's so much fun to play on the N64. The controls are fun. The gameplay's fun. Gauntlet Legends is another one I sunk dozens of hours leveling up characters in Gauntlet Legends. So there's a ton of really great stuff on the system. It's just, you just got to dig a little bit. And Mischief Makers is a perfect example of a game that is unique to the N64. I couldn't imagine experiencing that on a PlayStation.
Okay, 'cause I know Treasure did make a game on the PlayStation that around the same time as this one. I can't remember the name. It's like
Silhouette Mirage. Probably,
Silhouette Mirage, yeah.
Yep, came out the same year.
That's the one that another one I've seen but never actually played. But I had a friend in high school that was all about it. even like, but like I said, this is like mid 2000s, but still they were like, really just like into it.
It came out on the Saturn in Japan in '97, and it got brought over to the States via the PlayStation in '98. So, yeah, the Treasure was working on that, and before that they were making Guardian Heroes. So they were very still much like a Sega company. Why they decided to work on stuff like Mischief Makers and what was the other game? Sin and Punishment. Like, why they started making games for the Nintendo systems, I don't know. I guess they just wanted. They were like, "Hey, Nintendo's going to offer us, a place to put our game. Let's do it."
It is strange because they were like a heavily like Sega company.
Yeah, like I think they only came out with like maybe 1 or 2 games on the Dreamcast. Bangai-O.
Actually, wasn't Bangai-O on the N64 first though?
Was it? Yeah, maybe in Japan only. Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, it was. It was on the N64, then they ported it to Dreamcast. So, perfect example. Yeah.
Like when I was actually looking at things, like, I was surprised to see, like just how many like actual like games I thought were like, original to like another console later on where they were on the N64, like Bangai-O. So it was kind of. And then another one I kind of got tricked out on here. It's going to be our next track because we know when you hear the name Zool, what do you think of? What is the first thing that comes to your mind?
Zool, like Chupa Chup Zool?
Yeah.
Right. Like Chupa Chups. That's what I think of, is Chupa Chups.
Well, and then, of course, like I said, Zool, Ninja of the Nth Dimension, is the first thing that comes to mind when you hear Zool. But there was
that and Matt Furnace.
Matt Furnace, of course.
Amazing soundtrack.
Oh, man, yes. But you'll be surprised that there is a Zool on the N64, but it's not the Zool that we know. This is the world map from Zool, Majuu, Tsukai, Densetsu. That was composed by Takaheshi Yamazuke. Alright, so this game that is most definitely not Zool, the Ninja of the Nth Dimension. This was Zool, Majuu Tsukai Densetsu, and this was World Map, composed by Takaheshi Yamazuke.
This was pretty fun.
Yeah, it's very different, like kind of akin to like your Mischief Maker track, and actually, like I said, this is, I think, the coolest track in this whole OST because it's just so bouncy and weird, because the rest of it's like kind of standard RPG-ish, some of it's kind of along this line, but yeah, this is a weird game. It's a Pokemon-like.
Yeah, I've never heard of this one.
I think it was only released in Japan.
That makes sense. Yeah.
So that's why. But it's like Pokemon, but where instead of you catch monsters, you befriend demon beasts.
Oh, okay.
And so it's weird because let's see, humans and demons are just some of them humans who know how to live quietly. Yeah, so there's only some humans that can form a relationship with these demons and use them to fight. But it's weird. It just reads weird. It looks weird. Kind of interesting.
There were a lot of games that came out during this period where they were just like, hey, it's like Pokemon, but not,
Yeah.
Just like make it a little, make them chase demons instead of little pocket monsters.
There you go.
Done. And you want to put a big-breasted girl in there and make her put her in barely anything, make her like a priest or something, and yeah, no, you gotta capture her too. That's Digimon or whatever, or Yu-Gi-Oh! I can't keep up, man.
You got cell phones. You can call your monsters on a cell phone and summon them with a cell phone.
Right.
That really weird Wonder Swan Pokemon-like game.
Oh yeah. Well, what's weird is they never did that with Tamagotchi. They never did like a gotta catch 'em all with Tamagotchis. I really think they could have extended the brand if they made a Tamagotchi game.
They technically did, because Digimon was basically Tamagotchi for boys. That's where that came from. So they did.
I was not under the impression that that Tamagotchis were for girls, because I had a Tamagotchi.
It died. Of course, I had a Tamagotchi too, and it died.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think sorry, I was gonna say, I think like kind of when I said like Tamagotchi was, I think in Japan, like, Tamagotchi was more like, seen as for girls, and then they made Digimon for like boys, because like, they like doing the bug collecting and bug wrestling things. They're like, hey, give them these like little digital beasts things, and they can battle, because like you can like slam them together and like have fights and stuff. So it's like kind of because like in the Japan, like boys used to have that tradition of like finding a beetle that have like the big horns, and then they'd wrestle them and stuff, and
they're just walking around Japan like, hey, you got a 5-year-old boy, he wants to play with some beetles. I don't know why they have a Brooklyn.
Hey, we developed all the forest spaces. They don't got no place to go in the wild no more. Give them some digital pets to fight.
Digital beetles.
Make them happy. Don't give them Beetleborgs, though.
No.
Don't give them Beetleborgs.
No, they're big and bad. You don't want to mess with those. Very big, very bad. But this one is not related to Zool whatsoever, which I'm wondering how they got away with that. Like, because the license for Zool must have been like a European exclusive or something like that.
I don't know. I don't know. Let's see, Zool, Legend of the Beast Tamer. There's no, in any of this description, it doesn't give any indication as to what Zool means in this game's terminology whatsoever. So I think it was just a weird term, like Zool catches the attention.
Well, I mean, Zool is used. Isn't Zool used in Ghostbusters too, though?
Yeah.
So maybe Zool has something to do with like ghosts.
Maybe
like some kind of sort of like definition. Yeah, like some sort of definition.
Demons.
Of
occult
demons or something like that.
Who knows?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Good question.
I wonder if this game features any like bubble-clad androgynous demons.
Probably. I mean, this is a Japan exclusive, so I would imagine probably so. Like I said, I mean, with like Yu-Gi-Oh! And Digimon, they were like, hey, let's put some hot ones in there. Why not? It's like with Pokemon, they were like, nope, let's keep it kid friendly and no super hot, monsters.
Well, tell that to the Electric Tales of Pikachu comic, man.
Right. I mean, I only played the first Pokemon, and that's it. I mean, I think I played Yellow as well, and I liked Yellow probably the best because you got to play as Pikachu. And my brother, who is 7 years younger than me, I was in high school when Pokemon came out, and my brother was in grammar school. So he was all about it, and he would watch the show, and I would watch the show. I mean, I enjoyed watching the Pokemon anime with my little brother, but like I never really got that big into the games. I don't know, and they're not bad. They're well made, It just never hit me. That Pokemon bug never got me. So, but I was too busy playing, stuff on the N64 to care about a Game Boy handheld Pocket Monster hunting game.
I have a question then. Were you busy playing your next, whatever one of these games you got here?
Yeah. Hybrid Heaven is my next choice for your podcast. Versus Mode Character Select is the name of the track, and it's by Nobuyuki Akena and Yusuke Kato.
feel like I've been run through a vacuum cleaner with a bunch of bolts clatting around in that. What was that?
That was Versus Mode Character Select from Hybrid Heaven, and that was a Konami game, and the composers were Nobuyuki Akena and Yusuke Kato.
That weren't no heaven. That was Dyson hell.
Yeah, right. It was very techno-centric, very bumpin'. Good use of the N64 sound here to really kind of build something that is very exciting and very different. More something that you would probably hear on the PlayStation or on the Saturn. So the game itself is something that belongs on the PS1. Truth be told, it's a very different game. It's probably one of the most unique games I've ever played, period. It's a 3D game that is like an action-adventure game, but it also takes role-playing elements and elements from games like Tomb Raider. It takes elements from wrestling games. It's like that's how you fight in this game.
Weird.
It's like you'll be running around as the main character, Mr. Diaz, and he's like a synthetic human hybrid who's been created by aliens.
Huh. Okay.
And the plot is very like kind of in depth. There's a lot of stuff with aliens, a lot of stuff with the government. Like it was really Konami trying to make something like Metal Gear Solid on the N64. They really tried to make this like really neat sci-fi action adventure game that's very different. The combat is so different. It's like an RPG in the sense that when you find an enemy, you'll start to fight them. Most enemies, like there's some enemies that are just like little like guns that you'll have to like shoot out with your little like light gun type thing. But then you'll come across these enemies that you have to fight. And just like a JRPG, you'll go up next to them, and then it'll turn into like a menu selection where you have to choose what wrestling moves you want to do on the enemy. So yeah, it's really different and very interesting. It's a very complex battle system, and there's lots of leveling up, gaining experience and whatnot. You can get injured with individual body parts. So like your head can get injured, your arm can get hurt, like that sort of stuff. It's really cool.
The way how you described it, that actually reminded me what I was thinking of was Air Guys, like God Bless the Ring on PS1, because the way how you explained it was exactly how like before you saying like was actually had commands and stuff you were talking about. Made me think of Air Guys because it is like kind of just a ring that you go all around. There's a lot of hitting, fighting, like grappling going on, and it does have its own like kind of like kind of roguelike almost dungeon exploration mode as well, with like these two unique characters. Then that's what I was thinking of. Was like
that's right.
So it's like kind of like Konami's take on that, but making it an RPG.
Kind of, sort of. I mean, that RPG mechanic on Airgites is very similar, but this is just so very unique and different. It's like hard to explain how weird and different this game is, but I really loved it. I thought it was really cool. I never finished it. I got, pretty decently far into it. I think I just kind of lost track of playing it, and other games came out, so I just kind of skipped over it. And but I bought it like when it came out, and I thought it was really unique and different.
Weird.
I was following it in N64 or like the Nintendo Power magazine, so it's pretty cool.
Yes.
And I was a sucker for
Konami,
obviously, being a big Castlevania fan. So it's cool. It's well worth giving it a shot. It remains a fairly inexpensive game. Nobody really talks about it. I think part of it is the combat system is really kind of difficult to get used to initially. It doesn't really hold your hand too much.
Definitely sounds like something that I would have really liked to have played when I had access to an N64. It was like, but I have never heard of this. I don't even know I have no idea what it actually looks like.
Yeah. It's such a unique and different game for the N64, and really just games in general of that era. I can tell you 100% I've never played a game like Hybrid Heaven again. Never. It's super unique.
Hey, well, I have my next track here is kind of a fighting, is a fighting game. Definitely not, I don't think it's going to be as weird as this was, but the track itself is actually really cool. So I got here for you The Great Wall, which is Mei Ling's stage from Fighter's Destiny 2, and this was composed by Hideya Nagata. That was The Great Wall, Mei Ling's stage from Fighter's Destiny 2, composed by Hideya Nagata. And for me, in my brain, this is like sounding like one part Merry Christmas, Mr. Lawrence, and one part Goosebumps opening theme.
That's such a specific explanation.
Yes,
I really dig that that backbeat once all the instruments drop out and you just got the backbeat.
Yeah,
that like hip hop beat, and then you get the dun.
Yeah, like
that's so 90s.
Yes, that 90s breakdown, and then it comes in with that like the flute right here, just like just I don't know. Yeah, this one was just really cool, and I gravitated towards it because it definitely has kind of like that, like, I think I told you, like that Yellow Magic Orchestra vibe.
Mm-hmm.
This was definitely like the one I had to go to because like going through all like the random USFs I had downloaded and everything. Oh, this is the one. This has got to be in there.
Yeah, this game and most fighting games don't have a very good rep on the N64. Musically, though, this is pretty cool. I was really enjoying this track. It really gives me Mystical Ninja vibes.
Yeah, it's a silly thing. And let's see, this game, Fighter's Destiny. It's it's 2, so there's a first one, so it must have been okay, enough to do this. And did you play this one, or at least any of these?
I did not. I've not really played that much fighting stuff on N64, truth be told. I mean, aside from Smash Brothers, and I guess you could technically say Hybrid Heaven and WWF Attitude, those are pretty much most of my fighting experiences. Most of my games that I was playing were like action games, adventure games, RPGs, shooters, first-person shooters, and third-person shooters. Those were like my go-tos on the N64. I've got a decent library of N64 games, some heavy hitters and some favorites that I've, come across over the years. But, I mean, even hearing stuff like this, it makes me want to go check some of these games out that I skipped on just because they had gotten bad reviews. I mean, most of the people that reviewed these games, they're basically saying that the game was the best fighter on the N64 at its time.
Yeah.
Which is like saying, I mean, it's not great, but it's the best the N64's got right now, so...
Yeah.
Smash Brothers really kind of changed things as far as fighting games go on the N64, but it's not a fighting game system. I mean, you had Killer Instinct Gold. That was pretty good, but it wasn't as good as the first one, in my opinion, so...
Yeah, man. I'm learning all kinds of things here. Sorry. I know, I bet we're both probably at the end of our days here, and we're just probably I saw you got yawning, and I got my allergies going on, so it's just kind of...
Yeah. We're a mess. We're all old. I mean, it's, close to 10 o'clock here, and I'm just like...
Oh, geez. I keep forgetting that.
Man.
You guys are 3 hours ahead of me, too. Oh.
Yeah.
So, well, we're getting on to your last track here, so
sure.
Pretty soon you can get to bed and get your sleeping in.
I gotta go put my dentures away.
No!
Whoa, get my cane. Look at me sounding like Katharine Hepburn. Anyways, so my last game is one that nobody really talks about. It's a racing game called Aero Gauge, and the track is called Join Hands. It's a really exciting one to end on. And
yeah.
It's by Kazuhisa Kamefuji, Akiko Hida, and Hiroko Ogihara.
right, that was downright silly.
That was fun. That was from Aero Gauge. The track was called Join Hands, and it's by Kazuhisa Kamafuji, Akiko Hida, and Hiroko Elgihara.
So you said this is a racing game.
I did. This is a N64 futuristic racing game. It's also called a cyber racing game, very similar to like Wipeout or F-Zero or Extreme G.
Just because for some reason, hearing this, all I can imagine is like something like Rolling Thunder. You're walking around like a sly spy in a zoot suit, trying not to get shot.
Yeah, that's so perfect. Listening to this track, like it's absolutely a song you'd hear in like Rolling Thunder 4. You know, like if such a thing existed.
Yeah, Rolling Thunder 4, Zoot Suit Riots.
Yeah. That's it. It's a fun little jazz number, you know. I love that kind of, you know, almost like an upright bass on that bass line. And then, you know, throwing in those synth hits. I'm a sucker for synth hits. So dun 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 dun.
Who isn't?
Yeah, right?
Who isn't?
Right? The synth hit was like the instrument.
Just give me a little bit of that New Jack swing.
That's it.
In there, man.
Sold.
Gotta.
Sold.
And there's like these weird little solos in here with like, you know, the claps and then like
Yes. All right, so this game, you could play as 10 different arrow machines.
Arrow machines.
You could pick from 5 initially, and then you can unlock further ones later on. Yeah, that's basically your race cars, if you will. But the thing about this game, racing-wise, is it's not like the vehicles are just sitting there floating. You can actually fly in this game. So you can make your ships rise up, rise down, you know, veer left, veer right. It's not like F-Zero where like you're just constantly, you know, pedal to the metal and you're flat on the, you know what I mean? Even though you're hovering.
You're having like it's set to the track.
Right.
So like you're locked to the track basically.
Yeah, you can go full 3D. And go in circles like around, almost like Sonic 2, like the special levels in Sonic 2.
Okay, I got ya.
Yeah, you can get up to 186 miles an hour in the game, depending on, you know, which vehicle.
Very specific.
Yeah, depending on which vehicle you have. What's really cool though is this is so goofy. One of the unlockable carts or race cars, or whatever you want to call them.
Arrow carts.
I'm just so used to saying carts because it's Mario Kart, but one of the unlockable vehicles that you could drive is an N64 controller.
I got this arrow cart down at Junkies.
Yeah, it's so good. So very good. So that is super goofy. You know, Beetle Adventure Racing is another good racing game on the N64 that's a lot of fun and has some really wacky. I think you can unlock like a UFO in that game, like a standard, stereotypical UFO.
Yeah, saucer.
This game, for the record, did not get great reviews. Like the game is, I think it's fun for what it is, but like it's very difficult to control.
I'd imagine,
in terms of like
what you were telling me is
because you're flying.
Yeah.
So like you got to take everything that you know about racing games and throw it out the window in terms of like futuristic racing games, because you're not like just hovering, going from left to right. You're doing loop-de-loops. You're going up and down in the sky. Like it's a little disorienting at first, but it's really fun once you play it for a bit and get really good at it. But the soundtrack here is straight up. It sounds very MIDI-esque in a lot of like this is probably the least MIDI-esque song of the rest of the soundtrack. A lot of it is heavy MIDI-driven guitar. Sounds like something that you would create in like an old school music writing program like Tableted or something like that.
Oh geez, just some general MIDI, some XG stuff.
Yeah, it's got the like tinny, kind of wah wah wah, kind of guitar. It's so I don't know. Personally, I think the compositions are so good that they kind of outweigh the like kind of dated sound.
Yeah, that's kind of like becoming my kind of view on things. Is like it may sound outdated, it may sound cheesy, but it's really well written. Like a lot of the lot of like people that are making music using this stuff, like using General MIDI or like the old MIDI hardwares and stuff.
Yeah.
The really like making digital fusion with like General MIDI, it's like it's crazy because it just sounds so good even though the instruments are so cheesy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's cool. It's definitely different. The tunes are pretty good, in my opinion, and I think it's a fun, different game for the N64. So if you're willing to dive deep enough into the N64's library, you'll find some stuff that may not necessarily be like a really amazing, like 8 out of 10 or 9 out of 10, whatever. I try not to work off of like ratings. I prefer to just like read a review, because you can get a lot more out of a review than you can, in terms of finding out if a game's for you than just like whittling it down to like 8 out of 10, like there's people out there that won't play anything that's not like an 8 or above. And that's just like, if that's the way you want to handle doing things, so be it. But like, you're gonna miss out on some really fun games. I mean, like God Hand is a good example of a game that's scored terribly, but is actually a really fun, different game. In the beat 'em up genre. That is one thing I will say about the N64 that it's kind of lacking is beat 'em ups.
Yeah.
There's not a ton of really awesome beat 'em ups, but also beat 'em ups like around that era, they were kind of fading. There was a handful on the PS1.
Oh, yeah.
There were a few here and there on the Saturn, stuff like Guardian Heroes, but like really it was kind of a genre that was going the way of the dinosaur for a while there. I mean, it got a resurgence, probably around like the mid to late 2000s, with stuff like Scott Pilgrim and whatnot. But like, I don't know. Yeah, beat 'em ups. It'd be cool if there were more beat 'em ups. There's more racing games on the N64 than beat 'em ups, I think.
Yeah, I think like one of the closest one I can think of it, like that you were talking about flying like this was Diddy Kong Racing with the multiple vehicles.
Yeah.
And the planes and everything.
Yes, that's a good example. Yeah, but that's also a kart racing game, quote unquote. This is a futuristic racing game. So it's in that same vein as like stuff like F-Zero.
Futuristic racing game.
Yeah, it's in that same vein of stuff like F-Zero and Extreme G.
Wipeout.
And all that. Yeah, Wipeout, all that stuff. But it's just a different take on the same type of formula that, they tried to change up. So, I don't know.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Worth checking out. It's a very inexpensive game. You could find it pretty much anywhere for under, probably. I bought mine copy for like $6, but you could probably find it for between $6 and $15 probably nowadays.
Well, it's probably going to be like I said, emulation for me. Make sure to delete them after 24 hours.
Right.
Because that's what you got to do every single time. You got to. Yeah. To avoid any penalties, 24 hours that you got. And so Mike, thank you so much for bringing these, the N64 tracks. Like I said, this is definitely not something I would have done on my own. It's like because I haven't very much experience with it, and probably might have gotten to it, but you kind of forced my hand into it, and I'm glad for it.
I twisted your arm. I broke it in half. Yeah, no.
Yeah, no, it's not. It's really easy to do because I've got really thin arms. Look at
that. No, I mean, thanks for having me on. It was a blast. I will talk about the N64 to death. I love the system. It's so much fun. And I'm not one of those that's like that grew up on it in terms of like it was my first system. Like there's younger people out there that this was their first system.
Yeah, that was their first. Yeah,
and this was my third Nintendo system. So like. I grew up with it. Yeah, I was a teenager or whatever, but like it does have some of my most fondest memories from playing games. And even like I play games on it now, and I understand that there are limitations with it. Like I think you got to go into it like that. There's limitations to these games because of that era, the 32-bit kind of 64-bit era. This is how it was, man.
Yeah.
I mean, just gotta roll with the punches. If the game's fun, that's all that matters.
The short experience I did have with the N64, a lot of the games I played were definitely fun, and I feel like that's where that console definitely excelled, was like having just nonstop fun games on it.
Gotta get in or get out, man.
I know. So, Mike, where can people find you? What are you doing?
Yeah, well, me personally, I have a YouTube channel. It's called Dongled. If you look that up, or just search for Dude, You Haven't Played This Game. It's a edutainment review show that I do. Been doing it for over 10 years now.
Jeez, man. Congratulations on that.
Thank you. Yeah, long time coming. So you can check me out there. I do a bunch of stuff on there, as well as my podcast, XVGM Radio, which I co-host with Justin Schneider. And you can check that out at xvgmradio.com. For our website. We just hit our 100th episode, which is a long time coming.
Yeah, and again, congrats to you guys on that, too. Oh, man.
Thank you. Yeah, it's pretty wild, but, if you like VGM, check me out on there, because we do, different guests. We have, patrons that, donate tracks to episodes as well. It's a radio styled show, so if you like what VG Emporium's all about, then you might also enjoy XVGM Radio.
Yeah, because some of the things I kind of do on here are definitely inspired by your show, and your previous one, Pixel Tunes, as well.
Right. Yeah, that was my previous show, Pixel Tunes Radio. You could also check that out. All the episodes are still up. Just search in any podcatcher for Pixel Tunes Radio. Pixel Tunes is one word, and then radio. Yeah. So if you wanted to, that's with my old buddy Ed Wilson, who is now doing the VG Embassy. So we all kind of, we're all doing different stuff, but it's all about the love of VGM that we love to share with each other.
Yeah, it's a magical, beautiful thing.
Indeed. Indeedly do.
Indeedly doody ga. Oh man.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you're a sleepy boy right now. I can tell. You're falling apart. I'm falling apart.
I'm gonna go fall asleep to some super chill tennis music.
Chill tennis music indeed. I hope that in the many nights since that we've recorded this, that you've been falling asleep to this, dreaming of golden orbs floating across gossamer silvery nets, if that makes any sense. So again, thank you, Mike, for coming in and sharing your love for the N64. And thank you for pointing me in the right directions for all these deep cuts. Definitely going to be making their ways onto the shelf. Yeah, it's my bad for largely skipping over the USF section of the Zofar and Josh W. catalogs. And I hope you all enjoyed this little jaunt through all the deep cuts of the N64. And again, if you want to check out what Mike is up to, go listen to XVGM Radio or check out his YouTube channel, Dude, You Haven't Played This Game, which both links for those will be in the show notes. And they're both really ridiculous fun times, and I'd highly recommend you go check them out. And hey, if this is your first time checking out VG Emporium, welcome. And you can find it on all kinds of different places. First and foremost being vgemporium.wordpress.com, which is the main website where you can find all the episodes as well as the link to the Discord. And then all your favorite podcatchers such as Spotify, Google, Apple, Stitcher, Audible, Amazon, and then whatever links from all those. And then you can find it on all the social media such as Twitter, Instagram, and then Mastodon, which is one I keep forgetting about. Now, I have a little bit of an update regarding the last episode, which was about the OPL3 or the YMF262. So now here's a pretty big announcement, is that we're coming up on the month of June, and if you remember last year, there was an event called the Masters of VGM, whereas multiple VGM podcasts were involved, and we're going to be doing it again. And actually, there's a trailer that was created by Ed Wilson of the VG Embassy, and I'm going to play it for you right here, right now. I would have played it at the beginning of the show, but I don't know if that would have worked with the flow of everything, but I'm going to play it for you here right now. So once more, thank you for coming into VG Emporium, and I hope to see you next week. What it's going to be next week, I don't know. It's definitely not going to be my Masters of VGM episode. I think I'm going to have that ready by mid-month. So again, enjoy this trailer here.
Hey everyone, it's Ed from the VG Embassy. It's almost June, and I'm sure you know what that means. It's almost time for the Masters of VGM event. This is an event where for the entire month, all of your favorite VGM podcasts will focus on one theme around video game music composers. This year, we're sharing composers that we feel might deserve a little bit more of the spotlight than they're currently getting. There's going to be a ton of shows participating. Let me see, I had that list here. Hey, Larry, you got that list? No, not the grocery list. The list of all the podcasts. Yeah. What do you mean you gave it to me already? No, I don't have it. Oh, look. All right. Oh, here it is. My bad. All right, so it's going to be my show, as well as Nerd Noise Radio, Shujin Academy VGM Club, A VGM Journey, VG Emporium, Re-VGM, Gameable Audio, VG Mania, Rhythm and Pixels, CRT Sound System, Volt Supreme Synth VGM Dreamstream Machine, and more. More? What do you mean more, Larry? Who's the more? No, I don't know. You put more on here. All right, well, I guess there's going to be more. If you want to find out who the more is, check out mastersofvgm.com on your favorite web browser, or hit up the tweets at mastersofvgm. We hope you enjoy the event.